What you are looking at right now, if you haven't been here in Nashville, Bonitron, we're located out of Middle Tennessee, right here in Nashville. Been here over 50 years, really more 60 years. This location is actually the third location that Bonitron was at. We actually have a new location, Bonitron 2, which is out towards Laverne, Tennessee. Not very far from downtown Nashville. It's around 45 minutes from downtown. If you come during our rep meetings or if you come to visit, this will probably be the location that you would come to, right close to downtown Nashville. As I stated, we've been around since 1962. We specialize in drive enhancements, compatible with all major drive manufacturers. If your drive has local DC bus connections that we can get to and connect to the DC bus, Bonitron will work with that drive. When we say drive enhancements, if your drive has an overvoltage or an undervoltage problem, that's where Bonitron comes in. Our products will solve those problems. We're designed and manufactured right here in the USA. We do everything right here in Nashville. So that is a big selling point for us. We have all of our products right here, right local. So if you have a customer who needs something, we can normally get them taken care of. If they need any type of technical support, we're right here, and we can handle that for them. Most of our customers that you would seek to talk to are going to be drive integrators, the drive specialists at all of your major distributors. Our distribution channels are most all of your major distributors in your areas, your CEDs, your Rexels, your Irby's, your Border States, Holt Electric, Revere, Westburn if you're in Canada. Too many to count, but if you name a large distributor, they are a Bonitron distribution channel. Also, you want to talk to your guys in motion control. We're starting to do a lot more business with motion control using multiple axis servo drives and inverters. So these are very good customers to talk to. I mean, in most cases, it's not customers, it's integrators with the drive specialists and motion control guys. I will talk more so about the customers that you want to talk to from an end user standpoint as we go from product to product. Dealing with Bonitron and overvoltage fault that you are going to get on your VFDs is going to be from when you are motoring or raising the load or carrying the load and using all of the energy coming from the motor, everything is just fine. But when you go into overhauling, meaning when the load is either in a decel or you're stopping, or it may be a downhill load like a crane or a downhill conveyor where the load is pushing the motor faster than it wants to go and turns the motor into a generator, you get overhauling, and that causes the overvoltage fault. And this is where Bonitron overvoltage solutions come in for variable frequency drives or variable speed drives. And in dealing with this, you're going to deal with duty cycle. You're going to hear us talk about duty cycle a lot. So we're going to talk about duty cycle right off the bat, get an understanding on that if you don't have a basic understanding. Most do, I'm sure, but we will get right into it. And just so you know, I'm going to give you an example of what duty cycle looks like. coming up. When the motors, as I stated once before, a little bit of just repetitiveness here. So it's where your motor stops, your speed reductions, that's going to cause your overhauling loads. So you're going to see a lot of conveyor customers here. You're going to see a lot of crane customers. If you have a lot of customers who are doing some roller applications where you have either a steel roller or a printing press type application, these get into your more continuous, because one drive may be overhauling at all times when one is motored at all times, and that falls into our line regeneration. That's a very good application there. And this is an example of what duty cycle. If you didn't know, this is duty cycle right here. Just a joke, by the way, just a little humor to break the monotony. And the real duty cycle here is the time the application is braking or changing speed in relation to the time application is not braking or changing speed, measured in seconds or defined in % of braking time. This is a very rough term. You're really going to hear it in a lot of resistors. They always want to know what the duty cycle is, and it does vary a lot, but it comes in handy for us when we're using, trying to get the return on investment for a line regeneration, especially. So you want to get this down as best as possible. So you have your total cycle here equals accumulated time, your run time, your decel time. And this is an example. So if you have your 3 seconds here, that's 50 seconds total there. So then you're gonna get your % of duty off of your decel plus your cycle time. So your total cycle time, all right, that's gonna get you 6% duty cycle. And that's going to provide you a basis of where to fit in with our products. You will see our lighter duty transistors, our heavier duty transistors, or regen. If you're looking for regen, we have a regen savings calculator. You will take this duty cycle and put that in their horsepower and their other fields, and that's going to get the return of investment, and it can help you land deals. So you really want to kind of brief up on your duty cycle. And does anyone have any questions with that? I'll open it up with questions on duty cycle. And as I've stated once before, Bonitron products work with all drive manufacturers that give the customer access to the DC bus. So if you have access to the DC bus on the drive, the Bonitron will work directly with that. With all of our products, we're going to monitor the voltage level on the DC bus. We do have some variances, but we still will monitor the voltage on the DC bus. We're going to start out with our open voltage solutions, which is our braking transistors, resistors, our combo units, line regeneration, and we have a safety brake here listed, and you can see pictures of. We'll start out with our transistors, or you'll hear us call them choppers. I'll refer to them as choppers. As I stated, we have our 3452, which is our heavy duty chopper here. We have our 3575T, which is our standard duty. And then we have our 3675T, which is our light to standard duty. Our 3675T starts at 20% duty cycle. Okay, so 115 to 460 volt AC. These will be rated a half horsepower to 10 horsepower. Easily connects to the DC bus. These units are powered from the DC bus. Most all Bonitron will be powered from the DC bus. So they are passive. They sit idle waiting for the occurrence, and when the overvoltage occurrence is when they are actually turned on. That helps with wear and tear on our units. They tend to last a lot longer because power is not constantly running through the Bonitron. Our 3575T is 230 to 480 volt AC, 15 to 600 horsepower. These are also 20% duty cycle. They also connect to the DC bus and power from the DC bus. What we mean when we say 20% duty cycle, so you will just know if your customer has a 600 horsepower drive, but they have a 20% duty cycle. All right, I'll get back to it. If you have a 20% duty cycle on the 600 horsepower, that means you're going to need 120 horsepower continuous rating. So your duty cycle is the continuous rating. So it's only 20% of that 600 horsepower that it's going to be able to handle for a continuous time period. The rest of it, but it can handle your peaks of 600 horsepower. You'll see this a lot. Most applications are 20% or below, but you do see some e-stop where they really just want this 20% duty cycle, but they're looking to cover your peaks for a very short amount of time. Then you get into our M3452 heavy duty braking transistors. We've seen our largest market for these in oil and gas on the oil rigs, or large cranes, press applications, different things like that that require heavier duty cycles. These units are rated from 208 to 690 volt AC, up to 1600 amps per unit, 50 to 100% duty cycle. These units are rated 100% duty cycle up to 300 horsepower. So what that means is from our 75 horsepower to our 300 horsepower, it can do that rating for a continuous time period. These units also, we will get into which units are UL rated. A lot of these units are UL rated. There's a very easy way for you to find out. I will show you that as we get into our model selection and show you what that looks like from our rep login page, or if you're just online. The M3452 though, one of the big product highlights for it is its Ethernet, IP, and Profibus, and other extended I/O options. So when you get into this unit, the 3452, you can actually use it with local and remote status monitoring. It's very big for a lot of PLC setups, and the newer systems that are being set up now want to be able to control all aspects from a remote location. These systems can be reconfigured on the fly. You'll see a lot of our Ethernet and IP or Profibus rated units. They can be adjusted. The set voltages can be adjusted if you need a special set voltage on these. And you also can parallel some of the larger units if you need higher horsepower, up to 3200 horsepower or something like that. It can be done. As I was stating before, you will see on all of our websites or our materials, you will see this, the CUL or UL listed. And Everything in bold lettering on our materials will verify that those specific model numbers are UL. Okay. Just about everything from Bonitron, you're going to see a M with a 4-digit, and that's going to be the base model number, like the M3452 here. You're going to see the control voltage. This is the first alphabetical nomenclature there, and then it's going to be followed by the breaking current. In this case, it will be 300 amps. And you're going to see the DC bus current voltage will C, E, H, L, verifying that this is either 380, 415, or 460, 480, depending upon what you need. So that's going to tell you. And then this is actually going to be the chassis size, and those are those special I/O options, the R7, the R8 EIP, depending upon what you're looking for. Do we have any questions on our braking choppers from the 3675T to the 3452? Feel free to ask any questions if you have them right now. Okay, I'll be moving on, but before I move on, you want to make sure that you always choose the right model when you're going on our website. You want to look at the model selection. Don't be a Steve Harvey. Choose the right model. We have it right there on the website, or it's in all of our different applications you can go on. It's very easy. You can print them off, download them, send them, and it's right there in front of you. Don't be a Steve Harvey. Choose the right model. And here is an example of the ways you can choose the right model, guys. Just the model number here, your peak current, your continuous current, the minimum resistance for our choppers. This can come in handy for your minimum resistance. You're going to make sure, if you're teaming this up with certain drives that have internal or certain resistors that you have, certain resistors that you have in the field, you want to make sure that they meet the minimum resistance on these choppers. Meaning, if you have a resistor that has 48 ohms, you can't use it with this chopper. Okay, the minimum resistance on the M3575T H15 is 50 ohms. So you want to make sure it's 50 ohms or more to be used with this chopper. And you want to make sure also that's the case if you're purchasing this chopper and teaming it with one of our resistors. You want to make sure that if you're talking to one of your customers, you make sure that the resistor that you choose goes with the chopper that has been chosen also. And with that, we'll get right into resistors. I'm sure everyone is familiar with resistors. We carry quite a few different resistor types here, from very small case resistors to very large 3775 RF models, which can go up to, you name it, megawatt. But our standard units that we carry here, we do carry up to 1600 horsepower and try to keep them in stock, one or two of those. Our big deal with Bonitron, we try to have a very short lead time. Most all of our resistors, even if they're not in stock, we can get to you in 2 weeks max. But if our very common resistors are 50 to 100 horsepower resistors, we always try to have in stock, along with our case resistors. We make our 3575R, which are UL resistors, and our case resistors are UL also. The 3775RK and the 3775RF, they are not UL, but we can get some of our larger horsepower resistors in UL. That's upon request. We rarely ever run into this, but here lately, all of a sudden, we have been running into that. If you need it, we can get it done. Just get in contact with us here, and we'll try to help you out. Well, that's it for resistors. If you have any questions about resistors, feel free to ask me right now. But basically, a resistor is a resistor, and the biggest deal that you're going to need to know on it is duty cycle. We actually have a tab. If you go to the resistors page on our website, you can click a tab and fill in the fields, and we will try to best help you find the correct resistor with the information you give us. Or you can just call and we can walk you through it. Okay, we'll move on to our line regen. Our line regen products, this has been a very big sellers. Business is definitely booming with this product. The regen is one of those unique products, whereas we do monitor the DC bus just as with everything else that we have talked about so far. But we also monitor the AC line with the line regen. Okay? The line regen product highlights for it is 208 to 600 volt AC. We go from 15, 30, 50, 100, and 300 amp units for these. The 100 and 300 both can be parallel. You will need to derate the peak at 10%. Also, the 15 horsepower can be paralleled also. We suggest paralleling the 15 horsepower if you need a 30 because it's less expensive unless they require you to have the digital interface here. The 3545 is our 15 horsepower. It does not come with the digital interface. It only comes with the LED screen. But all other units are the M3645 base model number. So the 30, 50, 100, and the 300 would be M3645. And these all would come either with the LED or with the digital display here that you see. We actually also carry for if you want to mount the digital display on the outside of your own enclosure. If the customer is integrating the line regeneration module into a system of their own, we actually sell the digital display module separate, and they can have a hole put into their own enclosure and monitor from the outside of it. These units are special because of the integrated filtering and transient suppression, meaning these units actually have within them their own reactor and filtering along with their own 6-pulse IGBT. So, and that's all in one. In previous models created by Rockwell, they were sold separately. So you would have the regen module plus a reactor outside plus a pre-charge module, and it was all sold a la carte. This, we sell it as one big entree here. It's all together. The big selling point is return on investment for the regen. You will see our savings calculator later. I will show you that. And it is amazing when you go through an application and actually put in the specs. The return on investment with these can really turn a sale. They are a little bit more expensive for the startup cost, but in most cases, for a competitive solution, which would be a chopper and resistor when you're dealing with a continuous application. These units can be a lot more cost effective. In a lot of cases, they pay for themselves in a year or less. And after that, you're just looking at returning dollars into your pocket and saving the customer money. As I was stating before, you can see here the return on investment. It saves money, energy, and space. A big seller on these that we've seen lately, we've ran into cases where maybe lumber mills or some different manufacturers where they have combustible particles floating in the air. If you have combustible particles floating in the air, a resistor can catch on fire. Okay, these units don't have much watt loss or much heat or energy loss from that standpoint of view, so it can save them money and reduce accidents there. We have one of our customers here locally, I think our EMR guy, Nick Kallstrom, was in there trying to sell them a regen. They didn't want to buy the regen, and 1 week later the resistor caught on fire. And let's just say they called us the very next day and bought a regen. But he had been in there multiple times trying to sell them a regen, didn't want it, but as soon as that fire happened, he's now a regen customer. So, and also another energy savings that we get on these, if your customer has enough drives in there where he has multiple resistors or multiple load banks, and you do get some customers where they try to isolate these load banks within the facility, and they try to have them in in their own room or an MCC room, and they're taking the heat out of that room with air conditioning. It is virtually impossible to do that and drives the air conditioning bill way up, which is again wasting energy. The regen can save them money on heat losses there, and air conditioning bill. I stated before about our savings calculator. This is actually just a screenshot from the 3645 page here. You go to bonitron.com/regen savings calculator, and it will pull up the regen savings calculator for you. You can type in the horsepower of the drives that they have, the duty cycle, the days of operation that they're working in, the hours per day, the cost per kilowatt hour that they're paying for their energy, and it will calculate this for you. There's also a Excel sheet on the rep page that you can get into, and it will do the calculations for you also. And if you see here a 100 horsepower drive operating at a duty cycle of 50% with 365 days a year, 12 hours a day at 9 cents an hour for power, will save them $14,697.75. This is a definite return on investment for a 100 amp regen. That is around $5,700. Okay, so it should be a virtual no-brainer, though you still will have some guys that will want to battle you for chopper and resistor just because of the initial cost. But if they're operating at a 50% duty cycle, the resistor is going to cost just as much, if not more. And we also have an application that you can use that we've had some customers use because recouping using the regen is very important to them. But they may have a peak or an e-stop condition where they shut this down, shut their system down, and they have to be able to stop it within a certain amount of time or some safety regulations, they will still use the chopper and resistor, a lighter duty cycle chopper and resistor, to catch the peak and stop it in that time. You can also use all three together. The regen's set point is lower than the chopper or resistor, and it will allow you to use the regen for most all of the continuous, and if anything gets to be more than what the regen can handle, it will go through the regen and hit your chopper and resistor. Do you have any questions on line regeneration? Well, we'll move to our combo braking M3452. Guess you said I went over M3452, but this is actually another unit that we have, which is a transistor and resistor all in one. This is a retrofit from the Allen Bradley 1336 Mod K series, and you will see most all of our units, even those 3575T choppers that I went over, are retrofits from the Allen Bradley 1336 days, including our line regeneration units, the 3645. We have cross references from those listed on the Allen Bradley page on our website underneath drive manufacturers. Also, but I will hit on this one slightly. 10 to 60% duty cycle, 230 to 600 volt AC, 6 to 43 horsepower. Like I stated, it's an all-in-one enclosure, so you have a reduced footprint instead of having to use the chopper as one enclosure and the resistor as another. We have a safety brake here that can be used for servo systems. So this is basically this is an e-stop for your servo systems. From 32 to 150 amps. You can do 3 full load stops per hour at 480 volt AC. It meets EN 954 category 2 or 6. Emergency stop in case of power failure is all this is. You can go on our website and see the cross reference for it. It's most customers that use it, they've been using it for a while. We have had some new customers lately start using this product, but it's one of those products, if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. I will get into our next category here, which is our power supplies and come and bus solutions. We have single phase power supplies, our 3-phase power, come and bus sharing diodes along with isolation diodes and bus filter capacitance. In our come and bus power supply, this will the M3713 SC or DM. The difference between the SC and the DM is pre-charge. Okay. If your drives have pre-charge circuitry, then you do not need the DM. But if you need pre-charge, you will need that. What these units will do is provide power for your DC bus for your come and bus applications. So if you're looking to power multiple drives on your DC bus, this is where your 3713 will come in. We do have a new unit that I will show you later, but this unit is solely the power for the DC bus. Okay, so in sizing these units, you will take the accumulative power for all of the drives that you are looking to use on this common DC bus. So if this one needs 20 horsepower, 20 horsepower, 20 horsepower, or and you're looking to need 32 amps, 32 amps, 32 amps. So you're roughly going to need 94 amps. So you will need a 100 amp power supply to power all three of these drives. You will see them teamed a lot with the transistor and resistor or regen. So they will run three drives, have them powered, and all three drives will, over voltage monitoring will be from the regen or the chopper and resistor also. So this is a very common bus, common bus solution provided by Bonitron. This is our new unit I was speaking about. We have a regenerative DC bus power supply. Okay, so now we have combined the M3713 and the M3645 all in one. It looks exactly like the 3645 because it is the 3645. There's really no changes to it except some internal changes. The price and cost, that's the same exact as our standard line regeneration module. So this unit should be a very big seller. But right now, we are going to do some training specifically on this unit to allow you to better understand, and even me to better understand, how to use it. But you should really try to sell this unit in all cases, because even if you sell the regenerative power supply, there's no problem. It's not going to create a problem even if they don't need it. And if they will not need the reactor on their drive also, if they're looking to common bus here, because we have a reactor built in. So it saves the integrator money or the customer money if they use the regenerative DC bus power supply, which is our M3645P. P as in Paul is the base model number for the regenerative DC bus power supply. So as I stated before, three-phase power supply and regenerative energy all in one package. Same exact specs as the line regen, so I won't go over that again. The only difference is the regenerative DC bus power supply does not have the 15 horsepower or 15 amp unit. It starts at 30 and goes up to 300. You can also parallel the unit. The only drawbacks for the regenerative DC bus power supply, and it's not a drawback, it's just, it is what it is, but if more power is needed than the regen, this unit can't be used in that case. So let's say they need 200 horsepower worth of regen, but it's a 300 horsepower drive, and they're needing 360 something amps worth of power to power the DC bus. You can't use that in that case. You couldn't use the regenerative DC bus power supply because it's only 200 amps. So in that case, you would still have to use the M3713 to power the DC bus correctly. And here are some notes as far as the M3645P versus the M3645 plus the M3713. It's basically everything I've stated before. Smaller footprint for the 3645P. The M3713 does not have the interactive digital display. The M3645P will, but if you're using it along with the M3645, then you would still have that. But the big deal here is the cost. You got to pay for 2 units, and in most cases, I think our smallest M3713 is going to be starting at around $1,600. So $1,600 of extra cost that you cut out using the 3645P, if you can use that one. Are there any questions with the M3713? I know I kind of breezed over that one, and hopefully in future trainings we will go deeper into it and deeper into different applications that we use that. But feel free to ask any questions that you have right now. Okay, we're going to move on to our single phase, which is our M3712. This is a huge seller for us, especially coming up in these months. Going to be picking up with agriculture, pump, any type of irrigation pumping, different things like that. Are the main customers used with the 3712. The 3712 does. This is not single phase. This does not convert single phase power to run a AC motor, a 3-phase motor. This converts your single phase to your drive, to your DC bus, okay? So it will take your single phase output, run your drive. You have to have a drive here, as in most all of our products. We do get a lot of calls where a lot of people think this unit will run straight to the motor, but it will not. You have to have a drive in between. You also will have to have a reactor, which we will supply. We will include that on any quote that you need and size it to the motor. So you have an input bridge with pre-charge inside of your unit, inside of the 3712. It's going to run out your DC, convert your single phase to your DC here to run your drive at whatever you need, at either 230, 240 volt, or 460, 480 on this unit. The big seller on this, D-rating standard, is now 3 times for drives. Okay, so if you need to D-rate a drive, if the drive manufacturer, the integrator, is looking to use a 20 horsepower drive, he has to now use a 60 horsepower drive. Now you're going to hear some guys still saying it's 2 times. They would only have to double the size of the drive. But standard is now 3 times, okay, to make it, to derate that drive. You don't have to derate the drive with this unit. They can use the 20 horsepower drive and use a 3712 run power directly to it and save costs that way. Very simple setup. We are still working on our 3R enclosure. We get a lot of requests for putting this unit inside of a 3R enclosure because of where most of these units are sold. We have one built, but we're working on cost effective right now. We do sell fuse kits for these units, okay? So we sell the fusing on a small back plate and for these units also. Does anyone have any questions about the 3712? I will move on to our common bus solutions. These are sharing and isolation diodes. I'll briefly touch on these. We sell our M3345 CBM or M3345D. The CBM will be for the common bus module, and the D would be for the isolation module. This is a picture of the unit. What these units will allow you to do is run multiple drives from different AC feeds, okay? or multiple drives sharing an AC feed. It all depends on what you have, but you can hook all the drives up to the diode modules on this unit. So some of them, I believe, go up to 6 drives per unit. So you could have 6 drives, and you could connect either a regen or a chopper and resistor to the CBM, and they could run all of their drives through this. This comes in handy in some cases when they have different size drives on the common bus. We will definitely do further training on this product. The isolation diode has been used more commonly with our ride-through modules because we don't want power to come back the wrong way and blow up drives. But as I stated, we will get into that further with different training. This unit, to size this unit, you will size to the largest drive. If you have these 3 drives, one is a 50 horsepower, this is 100 horsepower, and this is another 75 horsepower, you're going to need a 100 horsepower diode module. So you size to the largest drive. Do you have any questions on common bus solutions or the diode modules? Sure you do. If you like to, you can email me your questions afterwards also. I'll provide you with my email. And we'll get into Bonitron undervoltage solutions. This will be our ride-through products. And in ride-through, we call it uninterruptible power for drives. So we provide a uninterruptible power solution directly for your drive. We monitor the drive. This is not an inline solution. It is not exactly like a UPS, although you will hear some people say UPS for drives. We can start as small as a half a second. We are very customizable with these units. Just about everything we do falls into a custom category with the Bonitron ride-through. With these units, it's not a cookie cutter system. You'll need to call us with the customer specs. We'll go through that with you. But I will provide you with some basics so you can get started out in the field. You will need to find customers who have critical applications. Our main customers that we have been dealing with lately have been a lot of your tech giants at Microsoft, Google, in their data centers, anywhere where they're using HVAC systems for clean rooms, maybe where they're producing the chips. Those are very big customers for us. We're spec'd in with just about all of them. We have dealt with a lot of extruders, aluminum extruders, anyone who has a process where they're dealing with large quantities, a large dollar amount of product, and if their process hits a sag or goes down, and let's say all the aluminum or metal in this canter may harden and cause them hours and hours or days of downtime plus lost product. That's where you want to find customers for ride-through. We sell them. Our ride-through will be sold as a complete system with cabinet and disconnects, or we can sell as components for the integrator or customer to integrate. In most cases, it's better to sell as the complete system because it has a lot of headache, but you do have a lot of guys some of these guys do know what they're doing, and they would rather have the components and integrate themselves. You will need to know if the power is a sag or an outage. So anything above 50% we consider an outage, but if it's 50% or lower, then that's a sag. As I stated before, your time, you're going to need to know how long that they need, either their sag, how long of a sag, or how long of an outage that they're having. We have different manners or energy storage options for these time intervals. So up to a half second, we're normally going to do your electrolytic capacitors. Up to 3 seconds, full outage, we can handle with ultra caps. So very short full outages. These come in, these can lower price because they can reduce your footprint size within a cabinet. Whereas with electrolytic caps, it can get very large. You might just have to have a whole cabinet for your electrolytic caps for a smaller outage. But with an ultra cap, we might be able to install that in the same cabinet with all of the other components. For longer outages, up to 15 minutes, yes, we can handle, even longer than 15 minutes, we can handle full outage with batteries. This is an example of the different modules that go into our ride-through cabinets. As I stated before, you're going to have your different options for energy storage. In the energy storage bay, this is the ultra caps. This, like I said, this is a lot smaller than it would be with electrolytic caps. You have your discharger for protection. It will discharge the power from your energy storage bay. You have your charger to pre-charge or to maintain the charge for the energy storage bay, so it's ready to be used when needed. You have your voltage regulator that is going to monitor for the occurrences, and a isolation transformer here also. These units also connect to the drive's DC terminals. This is specifically for the ultra cap, just protection for 2 seconds, a full loss. The cabinets will look very similar. You would just replace this with batteries or ultralytic capacitors. These cabinets also come with a digital interface module also that's going to tell when the occurrence happened, how much power that it was used, how long it was used for. There are a lot of different options that go into this unit. Tim Smith is our international sales and ride-through products salesman. He will be happy to answer all of your questions. Also, I can help you if you have some specific questions needed to be answered. Let's see. As I stated before, with our sags, in some cases you can just use our voltage regulator. You don't have to use batteries or ultra caps or some type of energy storage. We have a voltage regulator that is right on our website that may be able to take care of it at certain voltages and certain power. As I said, it will handle 50% or lower, 3-phase sags or 1-phase sag. Then with your short-term outages, you're going to need your voltage regulator, your charger, your capacitors of some sort, or a discharger. Either it's electrolytic or ultra caps. In the long term, it's going to be voltage regulator, charger, and battery. And this with a battery, it can be ideal for dark starts or to ride through. In a lot of cases, we are built into specs, a safety spec for a generator startup or a breakdown startup, where they might need 2 or 3 minutes to prepare their systems for a breakdown or to get a generator running, and they would use our battery systems for that. Big selling points for us versus UPS is we automatically start up when we sense the sag across your DC bus. You can still experience a brief outage with a UPS being in an inline system. And also being in an inline system, you are constantly running a UPS, so it's constantly being used, even when it's not being used. Our units being on the DC bus and being passive, they are not being used. Our main problem is that we're not being used, so our units last for a very long time. Then also with the UPS, their standard, I believe, starts at 5 minutes in most cases. So you're stuck into buying a very large system that you don't need, that's very expensive. And our last but not least is our maintenance solutions. These units are capacitor maintenance, or for capacitor maintenance with drives. We have our cap former and our cap tester. It comes in this nice Pelican briefcase here. They're used to form capacitors. Okay, if you have someone out there who may have a lot of drives in their stock room that they use when drives go down, you can't just plug up a drive. I think the lifetime that they have now for you to need to perform testing is five years. If you have drive set up, you'll want to use this. You can use this cap former. It's mobile, goes wherever you need it to go. Your maintenance guys can just plug it up and perform cap testing and cap forming right there where they need to do. We have videos for them. The formers come looking just like this with a knob where you can set your voltage, hold it, set it, hold it for the amount of time needed for your capacitors. Do you have any questions on ride-through and capacitor maintenance? I see someone says, can you all still hear me? Someone said their audio cut off at 11:30. Looks like you still can hear me. Okay. I do not know what happened to your audio, Carla. But, so if you're still listening, you can still hear me. This is the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to continue to ask.